Hi, everyone. My name is Dr. Jacqueline Sanders Marsh, and I am currently the Basic Course Director and an Assistant Teaching Professor at Bowling Green State University in Bowling Green, Ohio. I am very excited to be at this conference. I was really looking forward to attending it in person. However, the week of the conference is our welcome back to campus, and we have tons of meetings that are required and things that I just wasn't sure that I would be able to get away from in person, but then the option of doing it at the same time, synchronous online, I wasn't sure if it was going to be able to work. So we're just going to use what we got and we're going to do the route of online video demonstration, right? Communication. Yay. Okay. So I'm nothing if I'm not somebody that can be adaptable when it comes to communication. So what I have submitted is actually using virtual reality headsets in our basic course, which for us is Introduction to Public Speaking. And so for this talk for the next, probably won't talk the full 15. Fingers crossed, we'll see. I could talk about this for hours. I absolutely love it. But I'm aware that I may not be the majority, right? So for this presentation, I will be talking about the software that we use, which is Ovation. I will talk about COM 1020, which is our Introduction to Public Speaking course, with how we set it up with our book, how I wrote our book to work within a set of explanations, and I'll go into more depth about outlining and note carding, feedback that students get from the AI within the headset, how they are asked certain questions, what the practice looks like inside and outside of the classroom, the feedback that it gets, that students get from the AI responses, and then some direct words from a couple of students who took the course and their opinions of using virtual reality. So to begin, before I go into more depth as to how we run our classes, I want to begin by talking about the software that we use, which is called Ovation. And you can search it, you can find it. It's really awesome. Jeff Marshall is their CEO, and he has created such an amazing immersive experience for multiple ways of utilizing speaking communication, one-on-one communication. They can test debate settings, they can test it for a patient provider. So this software is really important, I think, not just in a public speaking class, but beyond. But for the purpose of this conversation, I will keep it to talking about Ovation in the world of public speaking. So Ovation has these multiple venues, and you can see here that the students put on the virtual reality headset. We use MetaQuest 3, and I am blessed that through the amazing support of our department chair at the School of Media and Communication here at BGSU, Dr. Cheryl Bracken, we were able to acquire 25 headsets. So I am able to teach a full class of 20, 25 students, and each of them have their own VR headset. It has made a huge difference, logistically speaking, of course. So the first week or so, we are working on understanding the technology, how to get in, all of those things. But once the students understand it, they actually really have enjoyed it. And I'll say more about that at the end. But you put the virtual reality headset on, and then you are able to be immersed in whichever venue we end up deciding. Most of the time, the students like doing either the lecture hall over here or a small classroom setting, possibly boardroom, and then conference setting as well. It's really great, obviously, for multiple ways of prep, but for students' sake, they actually appreciated, of course, more of a classroom feel, as that is where their in-person speeches will be conducted. So they have this setup. As I said, I wrote our book, Public Speaking Simplified, Removing Speech Anxiety, with Kendall Hunt as an internationally published source. So if this sounds like something you could utilize in your own courses, at the end, I have a QR code that you can get to it. And of course, email me, happy to discuss more about it. But I have noticed over the past 10 years or so of teaching Introduction to Public Speaking that students weren't necessarily afraid of public speaking so much as they honestly didn't know how to do it. And so we spent a lot of time on outlining, or I would spend a lot of time on trying to understand what they were nervous about. And finally, I decided that what I think our students were missing were the actual tools to teach them how to speak, the outlining. It started with me asking a group of 25 students, how many of you have been taught how to outline? Maybe 5 hands went up. Of those 5 hands, how many of you got taught how to transpose that outline to note cards? Maybe 1 or 2 hands went up or stayed up. So I was noticing that students really were not given the tools to learn how to properly outline. So I wrote my book specifically on the 5 note card method, which if you have heard about it before, many people use it inside and outside of the academy. And it has been something I used professionally when I worked in banking corporate world. But for me and for our students, it really helps them narrow and focus. And so we spend 5 specific weeks on how to write number chapter 4 there, number 1, the introductions, main point 1, 2, 3, and then ending with their conclusion, outline their note card. So we spend 5 weeks very in depth teaching students how to outline for their informative topic, walking them through the introduction, main point 1, 2, 3, and their conclusion, and how to transpose that outline then to a note card. And then we do it. So in my book, I specifically walked through here's all of these. Obviously, it's way more in depth than just these 2 pages, but these are the quick ones to show you that it represents me walking them through. Here's what we need in an introduction. Here is how you would outline that for a topic such as Marvel Comics, for example, and DC Comics, like the history of comic books. Okay. Then here's how I would transpose that to a note card. So not only were they getting applicable experience in the VR, but they were getting hands-on guiding to be able. So in a Monday, Wednesday, Friday class, what this looked like is me lecturing over the chapter, chatting specifically about things, and then them being able Wednesday to write the outline, transpose it to note cards, so that then Friday they were able to get into the VR, put on that headset, get back into those venues as I showed you at the beginning, and deliver each of the note card. So what we did in the course was we purposefully wrote our outline and in those chunks. So they wrote their outline of just their introduction, transposed it just for the introduction, and then they could click on this button on their virtual book and it would be taken to a shot of me and a video of me actually giving this one note card. So they had a full circle moment of, oh, okay, this is how I outline, this is how I transpose it, and this is how I deliver it. Then the coolest part is they're able to practice the delivery. So all 20 of them stand up at the same time and are giving their own introductions within their virtual reality headset. On top of that, not that that's not cool enough, but on top of that, they are then given feedback. So this is one of my students, and January 16th, you can see in 26, this is their very first attempt giving their introduction for their informative speech. And what is great about the software is we can change it. And I left it as persuasive because I actually wanted them to see that they were still persuasive, even though this was an informative speech. So it's not necessarily great that they're persuasive, right? It's something that I wanted them to be able to see. Sometimes when we're giving speeches, we want to be persuasive, but in an informative, there shouldn't realistically be that. So I wanted to leave it so they could see that. A little bit of a learning experience, right? Teachable moment, if you will. But what is super cool is that the feedback from the AI that they are given is after they are finished giving their introduction speech, let's say all of 2 to 3 minutes, right? They outline these factors: persuasiveness, clarity, structure, originality, right? How they spoke, how their nonverbal was, because they're able to track that in their speaking. They're inside the headset. They're also able to look at the transcript. They have quotes. The AI is able to give them audio, details, analytics, and then it will provide them tips. So you introduce your background as a film major, and this is great, but what about this? Or your ideas about this, but however that. So it gave them this. And what was super cool to see is the students' growth. So this is January. This is then February, so not quite a month. Being able to see that in this instance that they were able to work up. So this is an impromptu speech, okay? And so it was okay for the persuasive factor. But they grew in their depth. They grew in their understanding from when they did it in January, okay? And we see that they only really hit on a little bit. It really wasn't that much. And we really need to work on it, to now in February having a better understanding of what they were doing. Again, we were impromptus. And so we were able to test out how persuasive they could be, how clear they were, how structured was their argument. And the beautiful thing to have watched folks learn how to outline, how to transpose it, was to get that reward of, oh, I did have good structure because I wrote things down ahead of time. So the AI is set to do a Q&A at the end based on their topics. And then after each part of the 5-note card method, they were able to practice. So they practiced introductions, main point 1, 2, 3, and conclusions all separately. And then they got to practice them in tandem. And again, having that real world applicability, that real sense of feeling like you're in that space, made a huge difference for students. They actually said that 90% of them said that they practiced more than just their own speech when they were allowed it time to do so. So they really appreciated that. And regarding the practices with the VR, student 1 said that they found it useful. They don't normally tend to be anxious in the VR, but they also felt that it made them a stronger speaker, and that the feedback showed their improvement. And this student specifically referenced their filler words because it gives them what words they said, when, how often. Student number 2 said that the headset made them for sure feel less anxious, not only in the virtual reality space when they were practicing, but in the class as a whole. So when they were able to practice in a headset, they were able to put that practice to real use then when we were giving each other's speeches in front of each other in person, not in the virtual reality. So it was a true successful pilot test in this past spring that we are super excited to roll out this fall and share with students how much they were able to grow and how much they really appreciated being able to learn how to outline, how to transpose, and being able to spend time in that space, but then being able to practice it in that virtual reality space, utilizing the feedback from what AI have given them to be able to then apply that for their next speech for our class and beyond. Again, thank you so much for this opportunity to share about our pilot study that went really well. We're super excited in the way that, you know, how when you set up a study that you're really hopeful in the way that it goes and in the outcome, and for it to go the way we wanted. There were some hiccups, but to go the way we wanted and to have the outcomes be so clear that virtual reality and having AI feedback really helps our students feel less public speaking anxiety was exactly what we were looking for. And we were super excited to be able to roll it out now for not just one class, but that we're able to help other students as well. So again, thank you so much. Dr. Jacqueline Sanders Marsh is my name. Here's my email if you're interested, and that QR code if this book sounds like something that you would like to utilize in your classes. Have a great conference.